welcome back to my channel. It's Christina with Read.Pray.Disney. Here in this channel, we like to talk all things Disney, from packing to planning to pins to books. So if you'd like to come on that journey with me, go ahead and hit a like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Right. All right. So just as you saw in the title, we are only doing chapter 32 today. And you're like, Christina, why? No, y'all, chapter 32, I don't know what. Gena Showalter packed so much into chapter 32 that it warrants its own video. So that's what we're gonna do. So for anybody new, if you have not ever seen any of these videos before, and this happens to be their very, very first one, first of all, thank you, welcome. But I don't want to lose you. Go back to the first update of the Evil Queen and catch yourself up. Okay, so I'm going to try and do this justice because I took, let me take my pen out real quick. I took copious notes, like notes upon notes upon notes into chapter 32. So it's nothing to it, but just get into it, right? Okay, so where we begin, or where it left off, remember, was that I'm about to say Evelyn. I don't went and renamed the girl. Everly is now queen. You know, the whole thing of Snow White and the evil queen, she's now literally the evil queen. Although I wonder if there's still some speculation on whether or not she really is the evil queen. I think it's me. I feel like maybe it's not exactly what we think, you know, but so far it feels like it's playing out that way, that she truly is the evil queen because she married the prince, or not the prince. She married the king, and he died. He ended up doing that himself. Remember, she touched her when she had all of this siphoned power, and she was poisonous to the touch, and yet he still touched her. And so now she's the evil queen. So what chapter 32 does is that it takes us from day one to like day whatever of her being queen. So literally it says Queen of Sevion. Where are we at? Queen of Sevion, day one. Wow. So something I need to back up on. And I made myself a note because as I was reading through, I was like, hold on. So something we need to back up on. I told you guys, remember the way Everly and siphoning works is that, so just to be aware, Everly, when she siphons from a witch, she potentially has the ability to kill them by pulling all of their magic out of them. But she can't use it unless her battery is fully charged, if that makes sense. So I can siphon from 15 witches. I can kill all these 15 witches. I now have their magic and I can use it for a short time until I recharge my battery. Then I could tap into their magic again. So for example, those 7 witches that came, that they were going to try and switch her magic out with, one of them was like an earth witch. And what Everly noticed was now that she has her earth magic, she can like summon rock and dirt and debris and things. She can't use it whenever she wants to. She has to have a fully charged battery, internal battery, in order to use the magic that she siphoned from a witch that she's killed. Now, if she doesn't kill the witch, she could just tap into their power anytime. Again, still needing a fully charged battery, but she could just tap into their power anytime. But if she kills the witch, she absorbs that magic. Does that make sense? Okay, because that's going to come into play later, but I needed to make that clear because I think in the last video, in a couple of other videos, I don't think I made that clear. Okay, so day one. So Everly, she's there in the castle, and so one of her first things to do, and I really need to stick to my notes, so I'm going to be looking down quite a bit. But one of the first things she's going to do is she's going to send out a patrol. So remember, we have Roy Cephas. Love that name. Hi, Roy. So Roy Cephas, he is her advisor, and she sends him out, or not sends him out. She tells him to send out a patrol to capture Roth and Saxon back in the forest, because she does want them, and she doesn't want them dead. She does want them alive. But in the meantime, where she kind of questions Recephus because he's like, okay, so we'll do that, but we got a whole lot to do. And she's like, I don't really know about you. You know, you seemed all right before, but really, are you? I just killed your king. You know, I just took over the kingdom. He's like, look, let me tell you, it ain't about you. It's not whether I like you or not. It's that I vowed to run with the throne, essentially, like to be a part, not be a part of, but to support the throne. So it doesn't matter who's sitting on it. It doesn't matter their feelings. So y'all remember in the story of Snow White and the Evil Queen, there's the huntsman. Now, Everly believes that Truly is the huntsman. I feel like maybe Recephus might be the huntsman. Only because of a betrayal, right? And I can't imagine somebody unless he's really being used in this matter, I can't imagine him, Recephus, being so wrapped up in his vow to sworn to not protect, but to follow the throne and be advisor to the throne, that he wouldn't. Wrong is wrong, no matter who's sitting on the throne, right? Like, I'm not saying that she's wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just questioning Recephus. I put a pin in him because I'm not sure about him. But in here. So what he says that, and then she's kind of like, okay. But then in Everly, my girl, she's like, yeah, I don't know if I trust that. So we'll see how that goes. So essentially, he tells her that he has all these things. She has all these things, queenly things that she needs to do. She's got to run this kingdom. And she's like, I don't really feel like that right now. She goes, you know what I feel like? I feel like going to a room. And so she ends up taking over Roth's room, of all places, of course, right? And literally she in there smelling the sheets, you know, smelling his clothes. And it's like, girl, she sprung. She's like, I'm sprung. How you got me? So she sprung, but it's again, that duality. She loves the dude. But she knows, you know, she can't really be. Anyway, I digress. That's a whole nother, you know, teenage love. That's a whole nother thing. Okay. So, when she gets into Roth's room, something we realize is that Roth has been reading about the Evil Queen and Snow White and all of that type of storyline for quite some time. So he's been reading like the Annals of Enchantia, volume 111. He's read the Snow White and the Evil Queen. He's even read Snow White and Rose Red. And what he's taken notes and so forth. And what she comes to figure out is what Roth has kind of put together. So in Snow White and the Rose Red, and in Snow White and Rose Red, I'm going to read this to you. So it says, it features two sisters raised by a loving mother. One day, the siblings freed a ferocious bear from a trap. Later, they freed an evil dwarf from the same trap. Despite their good deed, the dwarf tried to kill them and would have succeeded if the bear hadn't returned to kill the dwarf. When Rose Red kissed the bear in thanks, he turned into a handsome prince. His curse was lifted. The two married soon after. Snow White married his brother. So there are she says there were definite parallels between Snow White, between the story and her life, Everly's life. So she says the couples, she's deemed the couples, her and Roth, and Truly and Farah. So those are the couple set, because remember, Farah and, so it's Everly and Roth, Truly and Farah, but Farah, I'm trying not to freak y'all off, Farah and Roth are brother and sister. So like the bear, Roth is considered his magic a curse. So she likens the bear to Roth. And then like the evil dwarf, Farah has lashed out at me after I was kind to her. So Farah and Everly was kind to Farah at one point, and it didn't work out so right. So she says that Roth had written in his notes that he believed that anyway, so she believes that she is, but see, by that definition, then she would think that she's Snow White and Farah was the dwarf. Like, I don't, or Truly was the dwarf. No, Farah was the dwarf, and Truly would have been Snow White, which would have made Everly Rose Red. So you saw how that got confusing? All right, so I put, let's get some little, okay. So he thinks that he's the bear in Rose Red, the story of Rose Red, that he's the bear, Everly is Rose Red, Farah is the dwarf, and Truly is Snow White. What the freak? Like, now you're putting me in a whole different headspace. Like, I don't, anyway. But that, I think that comes back to playing a little later. So anyway, he's been researching this. He's also been researching all of the other stories and enchanted fairy tales that we know, like Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, all of that. He thinks that each of these stories have basis in some, because remember, in Enchantia, okay, let me try to do this and hold my page. This is the map of Enchantia, right? So right now we're in the kingdom of Sevion. This is where everything's taken place so far. And then here's the forest. But we also have these other kingdoms. We have Kingdom of Aria. We have the Kingdom of Azul, which are islands. And then we have the Kingdom of Flor. Okay. So Roth has been digging deeper, and he thinks that a lot of the stories that we know in this realm come from these different places. Obviously, it would have been like Little Mermaid from Azul, and so there. And I cheated just a little bit because in the very back of the book is an excerpt of the next book in this series, and I think that's really where they're going. They're going to be pulling these other stories. So. We got a lot. Anyway, you see why I couldn't just do a flyover? And that's only on page 2. All right. So anyway, all that said and done. So we have these different ideas that there's going to be different stories possibly. Then we have that he studied about the evil queen and the 7 dwarves. And so she says, though intrigued by the others, I returned my focus to Snow White and the Evil Queen. As I'd been told, both mother and stepmother were used interchangeably to describe the Evil Queen. So she could have been a mother, she could have been a stepmother. And the 7 dwarves were touted as the 7 protectors. Not to mention no mention of True Love's kiss. Like as in the originals, there's no True Love's kiss. So we can X that. But there was a fairy goldfish, a fairy god friend, / witch who pop in and here and out to help aid Snow White on her journey. And then she's kind of a little mad that, because she's like a Snow White, but not the Evil Queen. So she can have a helper, but I can't. But here's the thing. She does have a helper. She has Noelle and Ophelia. So is Everly Snow White? Because right now we don't have a helper for Farah. Farah doesn't have a helper. Farah just, is it Vikander then? Okay. But then it gets more complicated. So he finds, she finds that the 7 protectors actually have names. Sparkles, Wingly, Hickey, literally, it's, y'all, I can't lie. Sparkles, Wingly, Hickey, Verity, Petal, Krusty, and Viper. Y'all. So Everly puts together that Sparkles is probably Vikander because he's a fairy and his wings do kind of shimmer a bit. Wingly is Saxon. Hickey is Annika because remember Annika is like love smitten over Roth and so forth, and they did some things before. And then she thinks Truly might be Verity, which, whatever. So while she's walking around this room, she also realizes that Roth, he kind of lives in this nice little lifestyle, has a gold toilet. Like, first of all, you're in this whole other dimension that doesn't have access to internet, cell phones, and so forth. But she mentions that he has like this this vase type of thing where you wave your hand over it and water runs. But then how do you have a toilet? do you wave your hand over after you finish and it flushes? And it's gold. Anyway, small Christina mind thing. Nothing to do with the story, but that's where it was. So that was all of her day one. She just essentially rummaged Roth's room, smelled his stuff, and read his books, and probably used his toilet. Yay. Great start to being a queen. So it's so evil of you, right? Day two, then, now she really gets into stuff. So then day two, what we notice, and it mentions a lot in chapter 32, is that, remember Allura? Allura is the queen of the fairies in the Enchanted Forest. And so remember when Everly was going through the forest, you know, there was these vines and stuff that were helping her. And then at some point the vines started attacking her because Allura didn't like Everly siphoning her magic. But now Allura what's happening is that there's these vines that are growing inside the room. And so Everly kind of talks to Allura. She's like, hey, you spying on me with all these vines? Because they're like, she can see them growing. But nothing answers. No one answers. No one says anything. So side note, put a pin in that too, because we're going to come back to that. So anyway, she wakes up, she sees all this stuff. And so the kingdom, so anyway, Roy Cephas comes back around. And so some of the things that she kind of thinks about and talks about with him is whether or not, she does check her mirror. She does check her mirror. Remember that little slice of mirror that it was Ophelia that Ophelia gave to her when they were actually coming into Sevion. So she starts spying on the kingdom, and what she's noticing is that the kingdom, because she is really feeling like they're going to be plotting her murder any day now. They're coming to assassinate her. That's in her mind frame. But the kingdom, they're not thinking that. What they're thinking, what she sees is that everyone's sad, you know, that they just lost their king and that they have this crazy woman that's on there, you know, that's up on the throne. So she's feeling she's feeling bad about that, but she's feeling more guarded because she thinks that it could all be a ploy. And I feel for Everly, because part of Everly's development has been pushed development. Like, she's been now she made some tough choices. And I told y'all this in the last video. She made some stupid choices, but she's also been pushed in a direction that she didn't necessarily want to go in the first place. And so now she's got to actually take on this role of the evil queen, which means she knows how that story ends, and she's fighting against that. So she's thinking everybody's out to get her, it's sad, but it is what it is. Anyway, so as she is spying on everyone, she checks in, literally on everyone. She checks in on Farah to see what they're doing. First she checks on Hartley, who's doing just fine. Hartley, out there with her troll friend, they're doing fine. Roth is still blocked. She can't, Roth is being blocked by Ophelia. So she can't see what Roth is doing, Roth and Saxon. So then she checks in on Farah, and Farah is in the Enchanted Forest in a small cabin, and she's talking to Vikander, and she's saying, we cannot leave Truly with that monster. We must save her. And Vikander, oddly enough, he's like, you're wrong. Everly will never turn on Truly, because remember, Vikander knows that Truly and Everly are sisters. And so Vikander is like, no, you're wrong about that, because and the other thing is that when Everly sent them away, she locked up Truly, but gave Truly every luxury and accommodation she could possibly have in that cell, more than what she had. And so Vikander is trying to tell Farah that, look, we're not going to storm the castle over this, because she's not going to hurt her. And then he says, we must stick to the plan and find Roth and Saxon. So as she's listening in on the conversation, another thing that we note that I think is a pretty strong trait, or, a little strong character development for Everly, is that because Farah is saying, I need to go get my mother's things. My mother things are in the castle, and she's going to burn them and da-da-da-da-da. And Everly is thinking about this, and Everly's like, she's wrong. She goes, I know the pain of losing a mother, and no matter how much I dislike the girl, I would never do that to her. And I found that was a very strong, like, she has a heart. She has a bigger heart than what these people are making her out to have. Which again, so then who's the evil queen? Because Pharaoh's ready to like burn down everything to go get Truly, and to go get her mother's things. Like, she's just not really listening. But Everly's like, I'm not going to hurt her like that. I would never touch her mother's stuff. So anyway, but in the midst of all of that, so remember, they're in the small cabin. So Vikander's like, look, this is what you can do. I will provide you protection, but I'm gonna need you to do a few things. Can y'all guess what those few things are? A cabin in the woods, and he's a protector. She wants him to cook. No, he wants her to cook, to clean, to take care of the place. He's like, I'm gonna provide you protection, but this don't come. This is not free, and it's not because I like you. It's because this is what we need to do. But I'm gonna need you to do all this other stuff, So, and Everly's thinking in her mind like, ooh, I'm a dwarf. Like, maybe she is Snow White. Like, so it was funny how she put that. But anywho, so the other thing is that they're going to, Everly's looking, remember, she's still looking in the mirror, and she's trying to find Nicholas. So when she finds Nicholas is actually out talking to some trolls and trying to figure out what's going on. Because remember, he's still on the quest to find Hartley. God, all these Lees. He's on the quest to find Hartley. So he's still in that role. All right. And then she says, show me Violet. Now remember, Violet is her mother, her actual birth mother. Now here's the thing. Violet done gone a little bat crazy. So Violet is in the middle of the forest. I mean, not in the middle. She's in her, where is Violet? Violet is, she's in a greenhouse. But what we find out is that Violet, in the middle of this greenhouse, she's like cleaning, not cleaning, but protecting and gathering, protecting the tree of life, the tree of new beginnings, the thing that started all of this to begin with. So Violet is with the tree. And so Violet is obsessively muttering to herself, ridding the world of evil is good. Ridding the world of evil is good. I am good. I am good. I think she's losing her mind just a little bit. So maybe that's the guilt from the fact that you just straight up almost killed your daughter, or was willing to kill your daughter, your flesh and blood daughter, like the one that you sent away. So maybe that's coming back to bite her. I don't know. Maybe she's doubting what she did. Maybe she's the evil queen, because they said mother and stepmother are used interchangeably sometimes. So maybe she's the actual evil queen. I don't know. Anywho, so she looks through all of this, and she's seen all these all of these scenes that are happening. And eventually she just kind of, she's done with it. And so Roy Cephas comes, and he's like, okay, look, you're awake. We got business to attend to. And so as they attend, one of the things that he tells her, one of the things that she's questioning, she's like, well, of all the things, now that I'm queen, can I change laws and things? And he's like, yeah, you can change the law. And so she goes, you know what? The law that I want to change, because remember, she's just finished watching this whole the Tree of New Beginnings thing. And remember how that started was, if a man or king had a wife and the woman did not bear a child within a year, he could have had her killed. So she's like, I'm queen. We gonna do away with that. And she goes, and as a matter of fact, we're gonna make it a law that if the husband cannot satisfy the wife, then he needs to be killed. And Roy Cephas is like, ooh, really? You wanna do that? And she's like, yeah, I wanna do that. He's like, all right, you do that. And there it be done, she's getting that done. So anyway, Roy Cephas tells her, she asks Roy Cephas if whether or not the generals are going to balk at her or, actually even follow her. And he goes, the generals, even though that they're saddened and they're angry, they will follow her because she has the battle magic from the king. But she like, ooh, I'm not gonna tell nobody. She don't even tell Rosita. She never did siphon the battle magic. Remember, the king, he offed himself. So she never sucked in his magic. So she don't have the battle magic. So right now the generals and everybody are thinking, yeah, we'll still follow her because she has the king's battle magic. I wonder if that's going to come into play too. It doesn't in chapter 32, but I'm wondering later. So anywho, there's that little nugget of problem. So the other thing that she does that I find interesting is that she asks, well, who are all the people that we have locked up, in that tower? Since I was a sorceress and I was locked up in a tower, do you have any other sorcerers that are locked up in a tower? And he goes, there weren't any other sorcerers, but there were people that were locked up in a tower that they were like cheats, nothing violent or so forth, but let me see. He goes, she was telling about the prisoners in the tower, and are they sorcerers? And he goes, they are not. They are mortals who owed the king money or insulted him in some way. There are a few, I take that back. So there were a few violent offenders, and those with special abilities are kept in the dungeons below. So she says, let the ones in the tower go with my compliments. Everyone but Princess Truly. And then she asked, well, do you think Roth would have a problem with that? And he's like, yeah, they probably would. But then why are you're queen? Why would you worry about whether Roth has a problem with that? Like, I don't know. But it is just day 2 of her queenliness, right? So they went on to this meet and greet thing that she needed to do, and it went over just fine. But come to find out, so there was this whole cook situation that needed to be resolved because they needed a new cook. And so Everly's like, you know what? I'm going to try and be nice. So she goes to see this new cook, and she talks to the new cook, and she talks to the new cook and tell her, like, she likes vegetable stew and blah, 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 like her whole, what things that she likes and so forth, not being rude at all. The cook poisons her. Yeah. The cook made her soup and poisons her. And it's so much poison so that she's throwing up. It's exhausting. Like she is to the end, every inch of her life. Damn, it's like Everly, she tried and she reached out and she tried and she was smacked down. It's like, she can't get a leg up, So again, forcing her to become the evil queen. So like I said, and I wrote that, like, she can't catch a break. She can't. So the thing about this though, the reason why that was a problem that she got sick, you're like, well, just siphon from somebody. She can't, because a lot of people in the kingdom left since they didn't want a sorceress to be their queen, or they didn't want a sorceress to siphon. They didn't want her to siphon from them. So they left. So there's like 0 witches in the community. There's 0 witches in the kingdom. So she can't siphon from a healer. So she's got to ride out this sickness. And unfortunately for her, she's getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So can you guess who comes to the rescue? We shall see. Y'all remember, like, this is totally random and it's just funny. Do y'all remember Phobia? Remember Phobia? You remember who Phobia is? The spider Orpian. Yeah, he bad. I kid you not. Like, in her deathbed, essentially, the spider Orpian returns. And guess who he shows up with? He shows up with Tyler. Now, out of all these names, like, we got Vikander and Truly and Hartley and Everly and Fair. Why, Gena? Why is one person this thing called Tyler? Tyler. Anyway, so remember Tyler, he was the one that saved her. He was the fairy guy that saved her from when she was falling into the earth. But then he caused that, because he had to talk to her. And she couldn't, and while she was sick and stuff, she couldn't siphon, because remember, he marked her and he said, you just touch this mark and I'll come to you. But she was so sick, she couldn't siphon from anyone. So when she touched she tried, but she couldn't. So anyway, the spider Orpian found her and he goes, sick? Yes, you sick? I'm like, ah. But anyway, so they bring her a witch, a healer. And at first she questions, of course, because, you know, she's Everly. There's a goodness in her. But then she's like, screw this. And she siphons from the healer. So what ends up happening is, so she siphons from the healer, and she does fret about whether or not she kills him, but she doesn't kill the healer. She siphoned enough from him. But then Tyler begins to tell her, he goes, you know, you didn't kill him, and don't worry about the cook. The cook has been taken care of. And she's like, what you mean the cook has been taken care of? She wanted to go evil queen on her butt, on her candy apple. You see where I was going with that? Like, anyway. So she wanted to go all evil queen on the cook, but Nick took care of the cook. And now everybody's kind of freaking out a little bit. She's like, whoa, why is Nick here? Because first of all, Nick is supposed to be finding Hartley. So why is Nick here? But again, they're there to protect. But then she starts to question, well, hold up. How did all three of you, the Spider Orpian, Nick, and Tyler, how did all y'all get into the kingdom? Because it's supposed to be on high alert anyway. How did y'all get here? But they don't tell her that. So again, is Nick on her side? Because he did tell her you can't trust nobody. And he tells her again, don't trust anyone. So when people say that in stories and movies, you can't trust anyone, it always comes back to what I'm saying is you can't trust me. So I'm thinking Nick, something going on there. You see why I couldn't just do. So anyway, that whole sick illness thing, that happened over a course of a few days. So now we are on day 7 of her being queen. But something Nick does tell her, they also bring her a full-length mirror with a key and say, here you go. Roth and Saxon, we caught them and they're in this mirror. We put them in this other dimension with the help of Ophelia and Noelle and them. So Roth and they're in this mirror with a dimension. And what he tells her, he warns her, he says, if you go in and you unlock that, he will get out. If you go to see him, because she's got to unlock the mirror to see him. And he says, if you do that, he will find a way out. So leave it locked. But here's the key. You setting the girl up for failure, Nick. What kind of stepdad are you? Uncle stepdad, step uncle, uncles. Remember that whole weird thing? So anyway, right? So day 7 comes around, and y'all know where this is going. You know what she's gonna do. You don't need me to tell you that. You know exactly what she's gonna do. But we're gonna get there. So hold on. So on day 7, the ivy again still's growing and doing its thing. And then she starts actually talking to us. She goes, like, you really could have helped me when I was sick. Like, why didn't you help me? Let me see. Anyway, but it doesn't respond, doesn't say anything. And then she's thinking through, she doesn't trust Nick or Ty. So then Roy Cephas comes, and she's in her feelings about things. She's second guessing everything. So of course she's going to second guess Roy Cephas. And she goes, hey, Roy, you know Farrah is part of a fairy tale, right? She is Snow White, and she has 7 protectors. And he looks at her and he's like, and you think I'm one of those protectors determined to end you before you harm her? And she goes, are you? And he goes, while I abhor violence, I understand. Wow, I said that. I understand the need for war. I will not betray you, Everly. On the other hand, I will not harm the princess either. And you're like, well, I don't know where you stand. Like, it feels like it's clear and straight to the point, but is it? So he's not a protector, but what he was very meticulous with his words. He goes, I don't like violence, but I'm not going to harm her. But really what she's saying is, are you on my side or their side? he doesn't answer that. So I don't know. It might come back and bite us. So after, they have that little exchange, he's like, look, all that said and done, I got something to talk to you about. And she's like, okay. And he goes, look, we got these problems in the kingdom. So what Josephus wants to get across to Everly, a part of her queenly duties is that she's got to run this kingdom, right? She's saying like your late ex-husband and your stepson were doing these things. They were making sure these trade agreements with all the lands are good, trying to prevent war with these different lands, making sure that treaties were signed appropriately and so forth. So he's like, look, we got business to attend. I'm gonna need you to quit thinking about all this other stuff and let's take care of this kingdom, because that's priority number one. So I guess I like the fact that he's trying to keep her on track with that sort of that stuff. But then he reminds her, he goes, even if I need you to meet with these folks, but you cannot siphon from them, because when you siphon from them, then they're going to build that distrust, and we need to keep this trust and we need to keep this kingdom going. So she agrees and she promises she will not siphon from any of them. And she doesn't. And then she says she plays along. So anyway, oh yeah, I have to my notes. So during all of this meeting, these people are ugly. They're rude. They're hurling insults. They're calling her these horrible things. And she's like, I don't understand. Why? Why is this happening? Internally, she's fuming, but she keeps her demeanor. She keeps her poise. And she's like, okay. And she plays along with it until they come for Josephus. They said something to him. They said something about how he's a servant for a sorceress. And she went off. Like she made, remember that whole dirt thing? So, and she had just siphoned from the healer. So she has her magic in her. So her battery's charged. So she made this big old dirt mound that he had to, him and his followers, kingdom peoples, had to dig him out of that. So she's ready to clap back hard for her people. And I like that she did that. She stood up for Josephus. She didn't bend when she didn't budge when they tried to bring her down, but she stood up for him. So I thought that was pretty cool. So during or after all of that was said and done, she actually was very successful. She won a trade, whatever. She was successful in the meeting. So she retires back to her rooms, and lo and behold is Ophelia and Noel. And Ophelia and Noel, and again, Everly's like, what the heck? So I failed to mention one of the things that Everly decided to do was she ordered that every single full-length body mirror that is in the kingdom, she wanted it one in every single room of the castle, because she was thinking that it's a portal, so to speak, that she could get away if she needed to quickly, or use it in some way if she needed to quickly. So she did order that. So anyway, her thought is, well, are Ophelia and Noel using the mirror as a portal? We all know. But anyway, Ophelia and Noel are there because Ophelia wants to warn Everly and let her, excuse me, Ophelia is like a warning Everly about the fact, and it's not even really a warning. She's like, hey, you remember our mothers? And all of our mothers are tied to the story, right? She brings up something interesting. She goes, did you know our mother once served yours? They helped Violet, Aubrey, and Melinda, Farrah's mother, steal apples from the tree of new beginnings. I suspected, Everly stated. After Reba gave birth, she spoke out your prophecy. King Stephen killed her, Ophelia said, voice tight. Reba, I asked softly. Noel's mother, my mother, was Tegan. She replied just as softly. Stephen killed her too. He would have killed us as well if Reba and Tegan hadn't planned for every eventuality. A witch stepped in to protect us with her magic and kept us hidden in another dimension for years. And so what Everly makes the thing here, she's like, hey, I didn't know. One of my parents helped yours and the other one hurt. Well, she makes the connection that one of Everly's parents helped, which was her mother, and another one hurt, which was her father. Is that why you sometimes help me, sometimes hurt me, tit for tat? So essentially, you know, Ophelia's like, well, we don't ever do that. We only are here trying to help. And she goes, to see the rainbow, you must first survive the storm. I was like, dang, I need that on a bumper sticker. So anywho, she goes into talking about how they sealed, what's his name? Roth. How they sealed Roth into that dimension, and that she has a choice. Like, if she doesn't let him out, that puts her on one path. But if she does let him out, that puts her on a different path. And what she's telling her is, I can't tell you what to do, but what I can tell you is you probably don't want to go down the path where you're letting him out. There's more problems, more suffering down that path. If you should stay on this path, things will be okay, but I can't tell you what to do. And then side note, just, it's weird, but Noelle has the hots for Ty. Again, teenagers. Remember Ty as in Tyler, as in the elf, or not elf, the fairy that's helping Nick. Just FYI on that. But anywho, I find it interesting that Ophelia is telling her this, because sometimes I feel like it's partly meddling, but then maybe I don't know, because I guess right now, Everly's at this crossroads where she can decide for her. It's like there's this story. All y'all gotta do is tell her what to do. And then they can negate the things in the story. But everything is so convoluted and vague that it's like you're almost setting her up to not be successful. If you don't want her to go to the mirror, then why let her have the freaking mirror in the first place? Why bring it? Anyway, okay. So, let's see. Did I get everything? Because I think that's everything. Yeah, that's everything. That's not everything. So after all of that from Ophelia, telling her, warning her, blah, 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 you know what she does? She opens the daggone mirror. And he goes, and he senses. So, okay. So in this dimension, when she takes the key and opens the mirror, she goes, show me Roth. She opens the mirror, and Roth and Vikander are sparring, and they're in this like really bright field. It's green, it's pretty, you know, it's nice. And she's standing there for some time, and then he ends up sensing her. And so he immediately turns around and books it, because remember, in order for her to see something, there has to be a mirror on the other side. So he's running for the mirror. And did he get out? Did he actually get out? Hold on one second. No, he was going towards the mirror, but she ended up taking out the key fast enough to where it closed the portal. But now that he has seen or sensed that the mirror is there, like, I guess dangling in the middle of the field. Oh, I guess when it's activated, then he can kind of see where it's at. Maybe that's the idea. Either way, then she goes to sleep, and she has the best sleep that she's ever had since she's become queen. And that's chapter 32. Almost 50 minutes later, that is chapter 32. So do you see why chapter 32 needed its own thing? Like, it was a lot. And I hope you got all of that. Now it's going to go downhill, go a little faster, because I've already read ahead. But there were so many things in 32 that it was just, I had to give you it. So I had to dedicate one video to that. So thank you for sticking with us. I don't know why I said us, because it's just me. Thank you for sticking with me. I appreciate it. And as always, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit a like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, we're almost there. So yeah, it's going to be good. But now, as always, have a magically blessed day, and know I'll be praying for you. Bye, guys.